$1,435 a month. That's what the VA can pay a veteran whose Crohn's disease flares 4 or 5 times a day. And the strange part nobody warns you about is this. The condition that earns that check is one most veterans never think to claim. Watch one doctor's visit. A Gulf War veteran finally describes years of flares they'd hidden, and one part of the claim can turn that into an approval without ever proving it started in service. There's a deadline hiding inside that rule, and I'll show you exactly where.
Michael here, and we mean the whole family of gut conditions today. Crohn's, ulcerative colitis, irritable bowel syndrome, diverticulitis, even chronic constipation. Different diagnoses, one shared question.
Cynthia here. The frame that matters is this. Every one of these gets rated 0 to 100% under one section of the rulebook, 38 CFR 4.114.
I'm Bella, and here's who this hits. Roughly 2/3 of a million Gulf War veterans live with an unexplained gut condition, and a lot of them assume they can't claim it. One of the biggest wins in this whole video is a shortcut written just for them.
But we're going to be honest with the floor too. If your gut is healthy today, if the flares are gone and nothing's left, there's nothing to rate. The VA pays for an active problem, not a memory of one.
And one more thing changed under the hood. The VA rewrote the whole digestive section in 2024, so several of these codes work differently now than the old guides online still say. If your research is a few years old, it's stale.
One more thing before we dig in. The full conditions list, and a free tool to estimate your own rating and back pay. Live at va.professorerica.com.
And the chat just pushed up the exact question I get under every one of these. Let me read it because it's the one everybody's really asking. Can you even get VA disability for IBS, or does it just get waived off as stress?
It absolutely can be rated, and for Gulf War veterans, it can be even easier than you think. Stay with me, because the shortcut Bella mentioned is the piece the VA almost never volunteers.
So where does this rating actually live? Not in your diagnosis. Think less light switch, more thermostat. The VA isn't asking what you have. It's asking how hot it runs. Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis both land on one code now, 7326, and it runs from 10% all the way up to 100.
Wait, run that back. So what actually sets the number?
The medication keeping you out of the hospital. On everyday pills or ointments with 3 or fewer bathroom trips a day, that's the 30% lane. Need an immunosuppressant or a biologic infusion, and you're running 4 or 5 episodes a day with fevers. The rules read that as 60%. Unresponsive, hospitalized every year, unable to work, that's the 100.
Nobody is born knowing that. So here's the ladder. 10% for minimal, 30 for mild, 60 once you need a biologic, 100 for severe, one clean step at a time.
Ulcerative colitis rides the exact same ladder. The regulation literally says to rate it as Crohn's. Both things are true at once. 2 different diseases, one shared rating table.
Okay, but IBS has to be different. There's no wound to point at, no scarred colon. How does that even get a number?
Its own code, 7319.
And it's rated on how often the pain hits. Abdominal pain tied to your bathroom trips at least 1 day a week, plus 2 other symptoms, is the top tier, 30%. A few days a month is 20. A few times over 3 months is 10. No scar required.
Huh. I honestly thought you needed a colonoscopy showing damage. I was wrong about that.
Most people think that. Diverticulitis is the outlier. That code 7327 wants the serious attacks. A hospital stay for pain, fever, and infection in the last year gets you 20 or 30. Managed at home with diet, 0.
Which is why the record is everything. Whatever your condition, if your file just says stable, you get read as mild. Walk with me on this because there's a fix, and I'm going to name it now so it sticks. The Flare Diary.
The Flare Diary. A dated log of every bad day, every bathroom count, every missed shift. That's the thing that moves you up a tier.
That's it. Now, all of that assumes you can even connect it to service. And for one group of veterans, the VA hands you that connection for free. That's next. One thing before the next part, and then we move right on. If any of this is clicking, tap that like, hit subscribe, and ring the bell for the next one. It takes a second, it costs nothing, and it helps more than you would think. Here's the shortcut I flagged up top. For most conditions, you have to prove it started in service, and that fight can drag on for years. For Gulf War veterans with a functional gut disorder, the VA skips that fight entirely.
Skips it how exactly?
There's a rule called the Gulf War presumptive 38 CFR 3.317. It says certain unexplained illnesses are presumed connected to that service, with no nexus letter required. Congress wrote functional gastrointestinal disorders straight into the list. So if you served in the Southwest Asia theater and your gut problem can't be pinned on a known disease, the VA presumes your service caused it. You never connect the dots yourself. The regulation connects them for you.
Which conditions actually made the list?
Irritable bowel syndrome is named outright. So is functional dyspepsia, functional bloating, even functional constipation. If it's functional and unexplained, it very likely qualifies.
I fall down late-night documentary rabbit holes on exactly this stuff, and even I had filed functional constipation under not a real claim. It's right there in the regulation. So you genuinely skip proving where it came from. But a clock is running, and this is the part that stings. That presumptive window closes at the end of 2026. Your condition has to reach 10% or more by December 31st. Let's put someone who lives in this on the line to confirm it.
Happy to jump on, and Erica named the trap already. That date. Functional gut disorders are the most winnable Gulf War claims out there because you skip the hardest part, proving cause. The catchword is functional, which just means unexplained. If a scope finds Crohn's or colitis, that's a structural disease with a known diagnosis, and it leaves the presumptive lane.
Wait, so a firm diagnosis can actually cost you the shortcut?
For the presumptive path, yes, and it surprises people. You don't lose the benefit though, you just change doors. Structural disease gets rated on its flares instead, which can reach 100%.
And if you're not a Gulf War vet?
2 other doors. In-service onset, if it started on active duty and never left. Or secondary, under 3.310, if a service-connected condition or a medication triggered the gut problem. One last thing, then I'll drop off. If you served in the Gulf, log in and file before that December date. Don't wait to feel worse.
That's the kind of thing you only learn from someone who lives in these claims. Thanks for jumping on. So the connection question settles 3 different ways. What's left is the money and the one form that starts your clock.
A code doesn't pay a cent, a percentage does. Let's turn this into a real paycheck in this year's numbers.
Meet Marcus, Gulf War vet, IBS, 3 bad days most weeks.
So watch the gap, because it's wider than people brace for. Say the exam lands Marcus at 30% for those recurring flares. For a veteran alone in 2026, that's $552.47 a month.
Hold on, that's the floor, right?
That's the floor. Now take his buddy with biologic-managed Crohn's, rated 60. That's $1,435.02 a month.
That jump from 30 to 60 is $882.55 every single month.
Run that across a year and it's over $10,500. For the same person, on the same gut, just documented honestly instead of vaguely.
The ceiling is real too. Severe, unresponsive Crohn's rated at 100% pays $3,938.58 a month. Nobody wants to be that sick. But if you are, the rating should say so.
So where does a veteran actually put all this? File the 995. No, wait, I had it backwards. The 995 is the supplemental. The initial claim is the 21-526EZ, and it goes in item 16.
Here's exactly where. Look at this line. Log in and, right here in item 16, name it precisely. Irritable bowel syndrome, Gulf War, or Crohn's disease secondary to a service-connected medication. Vague words here, and a strong case gets read as mild. Precise words point the rater at the right code.
Now the clock, one clean step. Your back pay runs from the day the VA receives the claim, not the day you feel awful. 38 CFR 3.400. File the day you're ready.
So the machinery is clear. The last question is the human one, and it's a real fork. Is a gut condition even worth claiming? We're going to argue that one straight. Here's the fork we owe you. Bella says any documented gut condition is worth filing. Michael says your time and energy are a resource too, and a borderline claim can cost more than it pays. Bella, make your case.
File it. If you've got dated flares in your record, that's 30% minimum, $550 a month, $6,600 a year, for evidence that already exists. And for a Gulf War vet, the presumptive means you're not even fighting over cause. Walk with me. That's close to free money left on the table.
Slow down. That's only if you win. A functional gut claim can still mean a C&P exam, records requests, and months of waiting. If your file just says stable and you never kept a flare diary, you can spend all that effort and still get denied.
Michael, put a number on borderline. Where's your line?
A vet with 2 vague notes and no flare log. That's the coin flip zone. Above it, the record carries itself. Below it, you're filing on a hope.
But a coin flip still pays if it lands, and the presumptive deadline means waiting has its own cost.
True. And I'm not saying don't file, I'm saying build the record first. Keep the flare diary for 60 days, then file. Same claim, far better odds.
That's a real point from both of you. Bella, does the effort argument change your always?
It sharpens it. I'm the one who wants the group photo where everyone's actually smiling, so I want the approval, not a denial that sours people on the whole system. Where the flares are documented, file now. Where it's thin, spend the 60 days first. I'll give Michael that.
And I'll give Bella this. For a Gulf War vet inside that presumptive window, I'd file even a thin case and build the diary while it's pending. The deadline outranks the tidiness.
So here's the smart play, and the regulations back it. If your flares are documented, file now on the 21-526EZ. If it's thin, keep a flare diary for a couple of months, then file, so a real problem doesn't read as mild. And if you're a Gulf War vet, file before that December 2026 deadline no matter what, and build the record while it's pending. That's what I'd actually do, and that's the honest verdict. And it all comes back to that flare diary, the one thing you can start tonight. Bella, Michael, thank you. Zoom out with me for a second. The VA pays for gut conditions on how bad the flares run, Crohn's and colitis on one severity ladder, IBS on how often the pain hits, and diverticulitis on the serious attacks. And for Gulf War vets, one shortcut skips the hardest fight of all.
The piece I'd hold on to is that the medication tells the tier. If you're on a biologic, that alone points at 60%, not 30%.
Mine's the deadline. Gulf War functional gut disorders, presumptive, ends December of 2026. Do not sit on that one.
And mine is the number that stung. Over $10,000 a year between a vague file and an honest one, for the very same condition.
Coming up next in the series, a gut condition that can pay you even when every scan comes back perfectly clean. Wait until you see how that one works. So here's your move tonight. Start that flare diary. 1 line a day, the bad days, the bathroom count, the shifts you missed. That single habit is what turns a real problem into a real rating. And if this helped, subscribe. We're working through the entire VA rating system one condition at a time, and every like helps the next veteran who's been fighting this alone actually find it. And before you go, one for the comments. Did the VA ever wave off your gut symptoms as just stress, and did you keep fighting? Keep these notes close and put them to work this week. Thanks for watching. This is Professor Erica.